So I chose two musical readings. As you know, I love music, and then also a quote from attributed to Shakyamuni in the Dhammapada. The first one is called Soul Shine, and it's by the Allman Brothers Band. Now, I don't know if all of you are familiar with who they are, who they were, but you should be. When you can't find the light that got you through a cloudy day, when the stars ain't shining bright, you feel like you've lost your way. When those candle lights of home burn so very far away, well, you've got to let your soul shine. Just like my daddy used to say. He used to say, soul shine, it's better than sunshine, it's better than moonshine, and it's damn better than the rain. And he just goes on and on. Hey, people, don't mind. We all feel the same way sometime. You've got to let your soul shine. Shine till the break of day. Good song. Next one is from Pink Floyd. It's just one line. Shine on, you crazy diamond. And the final quote from attributed to Shakyamuni, the Buddha: contemplate, live simply, be peaceful, do your work skillfully, like the moon, come out from behind the clouds and shine. So I think you're catching a theme here, right? So these are three ways to honor our ancestors. Two for ourselves, one for them. So the first thing I wanted to mention was the idea of the solar disk. Now, the solar disk is a very ancient symbol, and it's actually, some scholars believe it was first used for statuary and paintings involving the Buddha. And the way that that solar disk sometimes in the earliest Buddhist communities was done was just the solar disk itself. It eventually evolved into the Kalachakra, or evolved into the 8-spoke wheel. But originally it was a solar disk. And the Buddha was associated with the sun. And then it became a halo. And then also a seat that you would see many of the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and so forth drawn or carved on. So the sun in this aspect symbolizes wisdom, and the moon, compassion. That's kind of the Buddhist way of understanding that symbology. So what I'm going to talk about today, more than anything else, is something that I came up with many, many years ago that I call incense living. How to live an incense life. So what does that mean? Well, as you know, when we come up here and we offer incense, right? We take it to the flame. We make the three worlds, the past, present, and future, as one. Touch the unlit part to our forehead. And then we make our little sigil. And then we bow and move on. So incense living is symbolized by that act. So what is it? Incense living is the idea that we can be like the sun and the moon. But the main thrust of it is that we don't have to live a burdened life. In other words, the idea of a baggage or a lifestyle plagued by past mistakes, future anxieties, karma, sin, etc. In other words, the big Buddha Hote's bag. We have to learn to put it down. To put it down. So part of incense living is putting it down, not hanging on to any of those things. And that's not easy to do. because it'll come up pretty regular in your life. But that's why we practice every day. So when it does come up, we remind ourselves of this. And we can be like the sun. So what do I mean by that? Because we are part of the whole, we can shine ourselves outward from the fire of our true self. And our ego self becomes illuminated like the moon and shines as we burn away. We choose whether we leave behind a stench or a sweet smoke, because we're going to burn. There's a saying somewhere in one of the Buddhist writings, we are all made of paper and the world is on fire. So we choose what we leave by how we live. And when we do this, this is what we mean by, in our Bodhisattva song, to give completely. To just give completely and not hold back. An analogy for the ego self, and this is the second part of the practice, is that it's not a substance, but it's a glorious emptying out into life. The Greek word is kenosis. The Sanskrit word is shunya. It is to completely empty ourselves, to pour ourselves out, to shine. And because I love movies, you can also look at it from a theatrical point of view. And the theatrical view is that of the true self, ego self dynamic. And you can create a kind of a cinematic persona. And the thing is, what we want to do more than anything else is put on as good a show as we can. Put on a good show. And we can live as though love is stronger than any judgment. And this is what we mean by to live freely in our Bodhisattva song. We take complete responsibility for our story, neither blaming nor shaming any other. And our life is like a movie that we either live out of someone else's script or we write our own. The true self directs and the ego self performs. It's an engaged disengagement. We know it's a place to play. It's what I call the benediction of being. So you get the idea? And that's why Buddhists are always, when they talk about the self or the ego, you never talk about it like too hard. The Buddha never denied that there was some self, there were ideas of self at all. But it was the idea that there was some atma, some atom of essence. Materialists today are the same. If Shakyamuni is alive in us today, and I say, as Buddha, that it's the same thing. Materialism is always reducing it down to something. Way back in the day, Democritus did this in Greece. He said everything is reducible to atoms in a void. Bullshit. There is no such thing. It's a delusion. We can act, and I like this word, we can act as a flowing portmanteau. You know what that is? Portmanteau. What's a portmanteau, Dolly? Didn't mean to put you on the spot. Anyone, portmanteau. Yeah, it's a word that's brought together from different things. Exactly. So we can act as a flowing portmanteau in which the tragic and the comic, the trivial, chaotic, and the infinite cosmic are all edited together. All as one. We are neither a bereft barrenness or a changeless ego essence, but rather we are a dance of possibilities, a powerful personal phenomenon. And I like the word phenomenon. It comes from the word phino, which means, guess what? To shine. To live in such a way that our life beyond this one, however we might think that is, will be an improvement just because we lived so very well. So there you go. To me, that's how I honor the ancestors. By living my life that way. That's the honor I give to them. And when it finally comes to remembering the ancestors, remember I said the first two parts were for us, this was for them. Our ancestors live within us in oneness. Like a favorite film or show, we can be a part of it anytime we open ourselves up to seeing it. We are the ancestors of tomorrow. How we live and the scent we leave behind will shape the lives of our descendants. It will. It will affect them. And so that's how I honor the ancestors. I live this way. Anyone that knows me knows that I do. And it's not because I'm special. I've just committed to this view. Committed to this. I was raised by lions. And those ancestors gave me this life. And hopefully one day when my son has heirs, they will remember Tigger that way. And when I'm long gone from this world in the flesh, I hope you'll remember me that way. All right, so how you doing on your prayer flag?